being said, I am going to kick it off by talking about getting certified as a women-owned business, or a WBE. Now, before we even get into all of that, I do want to talk about supplier diversity. So in my part of the program, we're going to start off by talking about what is supplier diversity, and then we'll get into the actual eligibility, the benefits of certification, all about the application process, and then what comes next. And then I'm going to pass it over to Darius to talk about getting the MBE, or minority-owned, certified. So before we even start talking about the WBE and MBE, let's talk about what is supplier diversity, because that really is the foundation of why we're here and why people get certified. And not a lot of business owners know a lot about it before they actually get into the certification process. So supplier diversity is a business practice where corporations and government agencies take a look at the small businesses they work with and make sure that they come from diverse backgrounds. So are they hiring for products and services enough suppliers that are minority owned, women owned, disability owned, veteran owned, LGBT owned? And every company has different goals, a different program. There's no one like national, federal supplier diversity program or rules that governs everyone. Everyone is different. Now, a lot of corporations and government agencies have what's called a supplier diversity program, or a supplier diversity office, where they serve as the bridge between you, the small business owner, and their procurement department. And a lot of times they will have certain goals that they want to meet throughout the year. And, many of them will work with their procurement department directly to try to increase the number of minority and women-owned businesses they work with. I will say that while it is a growing practice among corporations, everyone is different. Some corporations are still talking the talk more than they're walking the walk. Every organization is different. Now, a lot of times to get into that supplier diversity program and to get connected to that supplier diversity executive with that corporation, you need to have a diversity certificate. You need to be certified as one of the classifications of a diverse supplier. So WBENC, which I will be talking about today, is the largest national certifier of women-owned businesses, and NMSDC, which Darius will be talking about in a little bit, is the largest national certifier of minority-owned businesses. And both certificates are nationally recognized by hundreds of corporations and government agencies. So there are a few things that I do want you to know about supplier diversity. First and foremost, every organization is different. Every state is different. Every government agency is different. So it is so important for you to do your research and find out which certificate do you actually need. Does this organization have a supplier diversity program? What does it look like? How do you get involved in a supplier diversity program? So I'm going to give you some examples. So the state of Pennsylvania accepts the WBENC certificate in order to get registered with their supplier diversity program. But when you get registered with the state of Pennsylvania, that does not register you to work with every government agency, every county, every city, every corporation in the state of Pennsylvania. That just registers you to work with the Commonwealth, the state government of Pennsylvania. That doesn't cover PennDOT or Philadelphia or anything like that. Same with all the other states. Same with Philadelphia. Philadelphia accepts the WBENC certificate to get registered with the city of Philadelphia, but that doesn't automatically get you registered with the corporations in the city of Philadelphia. Now, you may come across certain organizations that have their own specific certificate program. I'll give you another example. PennDOT, SEPTA, and the other PA transportation agencies. They have their own internal certification program called the PAUCP, the Pennsylvania United Certification Program. And they don't accept the outside national certifiers. They don't accept WBENC or NMSDC. They want you to get certified with one of their agencies. And when you get that PAUCP certificate, it's only good for working with them. You can't take it to like Bank of America. They're going to be like, what is this? We don't want this. So before you start pursuing certificates all over the place, do your research and find out, what do your clients actually need? If you don't want to work with PennDOT or the Philly International Airport or SEPTA or any of those PA transportation agencies, you don't need to get the PA-UCP certificate. Likewise, if you only want to work with them and you're like, you know what, I only have this one big client, they take most of my business, that's the only certificate I want to get, you probably don't need the WBENC certificate. So find out ahead of time, what certificates do you actually need, and do your research into your targeted clients. Now, I kind of covered 1 and 2 there. So moving along, being a diverse supplier, it doesn't guarantee you contracts. It's all about networking. So I like to say that it's, kind of like getting a college degree. And I think I stole this metaphor from Darius. When you get a college degree, you don't automatically start getting job offers that land into your lap. People don't just kind of find you and say, oh, here's these job offers. You still have to apply. You have to be the best candidate for the job. You got to start networking with your alumni network. It's all about putting yourself out there, right? And still sometimes you're not the best fit for the job, and it's never guaranteed, but it is all about helping you level the playing field, and it opens up this network of supplier diversity professionals who are advocating for contracts to be shared with minority and women-owned businesses. So just know that it is never a guarantee, but it is another tool in your tool belt. Once you get certified, number 4, many of your target clients have their own internal database or portal with their supplier diversity program that you should definitely join. Now, it's all about quality, not quantity. Don't go and register with 100 different supplier diversity portals just hoping to get business anywhere, because that's not worth your time. Get targeted and start developing those relationships. Yes, get registered with those portals. Find out who is the supplier diversity program for manager for this organization. Are they doing any upcoming programs on how to do business with them? Are they participating in any upcoming programs? Do they have any opportunities coming up? Start building that network, and know that just because you meet them once at a business program or a networking program, that doesn't mean you automatically have a business relationship with them. People do business with people they know and like, right? You guys know this as business owners. It's all about developing those business relationships. But that being said, you should still upload your certificate to these portals, and know that when you renew every year, it doesn't automatically update them. You have to do that updating. Our system doesn't sink into Wells Fargo and City of Philadelphia and every other, internal system out there. Being a WBE, which is what I'll be talking about, is one of a bunch of ways to be certified as a diverse business. Now, there are 5 national certifiers you can get: women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, disability-owned, or LGBT-owned. And there are a bunch of other certificate programs out there like the PA-UCP, the DBE, but know that those are kind of the 5 categories of being a diverse owned business. If you qualify for more than one, I always encourage you, get more than one if you think you need it. It just opens it up to another network, potentially different corporates who you may not have met through one network or the other. So it's never a detriment. If anything, it's only a benefit to having more than one certificate if you're eligible for more than one certificate. Number 6, supplier diversity is not goodwill, it's good business sense. There was a study that I read from 2018 that showed that Ernst & Young, for every $1 million that they spent on supplier diversity efforts, got $3 million in return. That is a huge return on investment. And it shows that corporations that invest in diverse businesses start getting superior products and services, new innovations. They start working with different people. We all know here that diversity is a good thing. And corporations are starting to realize that it's not just a good thing, it's also good for the bottom line too. So that is why it is really growing. And lastly, you can have supplier diversity goals too. There is no business that is too small to say, you know what, tax season is coming up. I really need to hire a new accountant. I'm going to hire a women-owned or a minority-owned firm to help me with my taxes this year. Business owners get so hung up on meeting with the corporates that they forget about the tens of thousands of other certified minority and women-owned businesses out there that also want to do business with minority and women-owned businesses. So don't forget about them as well. So I hope that gives you a good snapshot of what supplier diversity is and why you're here. Now let's take a pause for a second, knowing all that, and do a self-assessment. Is certification right for me? First and foremost, is your business, your product or service, targeted at corporations, wholesale, retail? If you are product-based, are you looking to sell to those big box stores, to schools, to hospitals, hotels, Target, Walmart, and or government agencies? Now, plenty of people still get the certificate for the reputation of it, and there's no reason why you can't get it. There are tons of businesses out there that say, you know what, I just feel like it lends me some legitimacy as a Black woman. And that is great. There are tons of them. But the real benefit here is that you get access to those supplier diversity programs at those corporations and government agencies. Now, another good question for you. Do you have the capacity at this point in your business journey to provide good quality service and products to these corporations? The last thing you want to do is be at the very beginning of your business journey and you have a great product that you are developing and you get really lucky and meet with the supplier diversity manager of giant supermarkets. And she says, oh my gosh, we are really lacking in this product on our shelves. I'd love to talk to you about getting it on our shelves. And the last thing you want to say is, I think I'm still a month or a year, maybe 2 years away from actually being manufactured and being ready to be on shelves. You don't want to be at that point that you have to turn down a corporate. So think, am I ready in my entrepreneurship journey that if I get approached by a corporate or I start to market myself and I get lucky and I get that job, can I take it right away? Can I get started now? Ask yourself that question. Because maybe if you're not, you want to wait a year or two. Are you willing to share the details of your business? Everything from your tax returns, your board minutes, your bylaws, your operating agreement, your payroll. We don't ask for any documents that we don't need. Everything we look at is because we truly want to understand who owns and who's running this business. Because believe it or not, we all encounter fraud every year. And it is very important for us in order to maintain our gold standard that we really look at everything. Who is getting the highest paid in your company? Because that could be an indicator of whether you're the one that's actually in control and is the CEO, or are you the CEO in name, name only. Obviously your tax returns will show your ownership. I'm going to talk all in detail about what documents you actually need, but know that you need to be willing to share that with us. If we ask for something and you say, I'm sorry, I'm not able to provide that, I don't feel comfortable, we won't be able to proceed with the application. And lastly, are you clear that this is a tool in your tool belt? Again, it does not guarantee you business, but it helps to open up a network. Alrighty, so if you have said yes to all those questions, you are in the right place. Now, there are a bunch of benefits, which hopefully you will start to be recognizing now. First and foremost, you get that certificate. And a lot of these benefits are the same for the MBE, which Darius will go over in a little bit. But you get that diversity certificate that you can give to supplier diversity executives and prove that, yes, you are a certified diverse business. And you can upload it to those supplier diversity portals. You get access to these networks of supplier diversity procurement executives. You get access to the database. We both have extensive databases, not just of the corporates, but also of all of the WBEs. You will be in that database and you will get access to that database. You get access to the logos, both the WBEE seal as well as the women-owned logos. You get access to a ton of networking events, not just within our organization or within NMSDC, but when you get a diversity certificate, it opens up the whole world of supplier diversity to you. So, while WBEE and WBEE East do a lot of events for networking to try to connect you with those corporates and with each other throughout the year. So does EMSDC for the MBE, and so do the PTACs and the chambers of commerce and the other small business centers and the corporations themselves. And many of the times they open it up to all certified diverse businesses. So know that when you get a diversity certificate, it doesn't just open up our network, it opens up all of supplier diversity to you. So let us now talk about the WBE and my specific network, WBEC. WBEC is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. The N stands for national, and then there are 14 different regions. So we're WBEC, we drop the N for national. WBEC East, we cover Pennsylvania, Delaware, and South Jersey. But know that wherever you are headquartered throughout the country, the application process, the benefits, eligibility requirements, documents required, everything is the same. And if you ever move to any region, it's very easy to transfer you to another region. You can use your certificate in any region that you do business. If you have employees in like WBEC Pacific, but you're certified in WBEC East, your employees are more than welcome to participate in WBEC Pacific events and networking, so on and so forth. So just know that it is a national certificate. You get assigned to a region just based on where your headquarters is, but it does not limit you in any way to that region. All it is that's the local staff office that you're going to be working with when you recertify every year. That's it. You get access to everything else. There are over 16,000 certified women-owned businesses nationally, and there are over 325 corporate members nationally. Now, the corporates are those corporations that pay dues to WBEC in order to have access to you guys, the business owners, to our events, to our directory. They are not the be-all end-all of all the corporations that have supplier diversity programs and accept these certificates. There are hundreds and hundreds more out there. These are just the ones that specifically pay dues to us. So if you're kind of like, I know I want to expand my client base, but I'm not sure where to start, this is a good list to start, because if they're paying dues to us, they better have supplier diversity programs. Otherwise, why are they here? So we are WBEC East. As I mentioned, we are all of Pennsylvania, all of Delaware, and the southern half of New Jersey. So if you are headquartered in those locations, you will be working with me and my team. If you are in North Jersey, you will be working with the New York region. If you are just over the border in Ohio, you will be working with the Ohio River Valley region, but you are more than welcome to participate in any of our events. Our main office is in Philadelphia, and we have a satellite office out in Pittsburgh, as well as another staff member out in Harrisburg. While we are one of the smallest regions in terms of footprint, we are one of the largest in terms of number of businesses. We have over 1,700 certified businesses in our tri-state area. And of all the corporations that are members, about 50 of them are active locally. So it's a pretty great region to be a part of and get started out with. So what is a WBE? I've been throwing this term around. WBE stands for Women's Business Enterprise. It validates that you are 51% owned, operated, controlled by women. Again, not just your whole business is certified, not just you, but all of your employees are welcome to participate as well. So let's break down this eligibility a little bit further here. First and foremost, you have to be a for-profit independent business. You have to be currently operating, you have to be incorporated, and you have to be for-profit. We don't certify nonprofits. So if you are in the stage of your entrepreneurship journey where you haven't officially launched yet, certification, it's not the right time for you. You have to be incorporated and already functioning. That being said, there is no minimum for how long you've been functioning. I've certified businesses that launched less than 6 months ago and don't have any revenue or clients yet. That's okay. There's no minimum size or time. You just have to be launched. You must be 51% owned. So if you're an LLC, you have to have that spelled out in your taxes and your operating agreement. Unless you are a single member LLC and you don't have an operating agreement or you're a sole proprietor. If you are a corporation, it has to be all aggregate stocks, not just voting stocks, all aggregate stocks. So if you bring on investors, even if they're silent investors that don't have voting, those stocks still count as being part of that 51%. And we do not round up. It is not 50.5. It has to be 51% or more. The women owners have to be U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. And the women owner or another woman has to hold the highest defined office, whether that is CEO, president, chairwoman, managing member, whatever that highest title is, and be acting in that highest title. They can't just have CEO in name and, be retired and not actually working in the business, but her son is the president under the CEO who's actually running the business. That does not qualify you. It has to be a woman who owns and runs the business. So she has to have the highest defined title. And if you don't know what your highest defined title is legally, take a look in your operating agreement or your bylaws. In the officers section, it should say who the highest title is. So if you're a corporation, you look in those bylaws. If you're an LLC, you look in that operating agreement. A lot of times, if you just get like a generic template online, or like you've gone through a lawyer that just drafts a generic template, it's very common for that generic template to say the president is the CEO of the company and runs all operations. That means that the president is the head of the company. If you don't hold that president title, you are legally not the head of your company. Even if you're the CEO and your son is the president, legally by that document, he is in charge of you. He is the CEO, even though you've named yourself the CEO. So please make sure you go and look into your legal documents and make sure that you are the one that holds the highest title. And if your highest title is not listed there, write up an amendment and sign it and make sure that you are covered as a business owner, because it's not just important for certification, it's important for you as well, for your business. The owner displays evidence of legal and managerial control. So that is where we look into things like your taxes. What does that ownership percentage say? Your bylaws, who is the highest title? Other things in bylaws, we take a look to make sure there are no unanimous consent clauses. Those are other things that are pretty common in standard templates for bylaws and operating agreements. The unanimous consent clause basically is if it says that unanimous consent must be given of all directors in order to adjust salary treatments. That means that if you have a 10% minority owner and he says, sorry, I don't want to do salary treatments this year, he can overrule you because there is a unanimous consent clause there. You must be unanimously agreed to do salary treatments, and that limits your control on the business. So please go through, do a Control F on your governing documents, write up an amendment and get rid of those unanimous consent clauses because those limit your control on the business. Owner displays evidence of contribution of capital or expertise. Basically, are you integral to the business? Are you necessary to the business? Is there a reason that you are running this business, or is it just that your husband gave you the extra 1% because he wants to get these WBE contracts? That's what we are trying to avoid here. You have to have the expertise to run your business, and you have to be willing, if it's a case of a husband-wife duo, you have to be willing and able to fire your husband and be able to be totally fine continuing to run the business. You have other foremen that can easily take up these projects. You are not stuck in a rut because your husband decided to leave the business. We are trying to avoid these fronts here, right? You have to be truly the one that runs your business and has the expertise to do so. And lastly, the business has to display independence and the ability to function on their own. So we are looking to make sure, again, that you are not a front here. So I'll give you some examples. Let's say that I've seen a situation where there's a family-run business, and it's been run by the grandfather for the last 50 years. And now there are a lot of opportunities for WBEs to get a specific niche of construction to get this big contract with the city of Philadelphia. So the daughter, who has been in this business for many years, so she does have the expertise, says, you know what, I want to get these contracts for my family. I'm going to start my own business that I own. I can run it. So this is so far so good. However, she is still using all of her grandfather's equipment. to fulfill these contracts, she is funneling the majority of these other contracts from her grandfather into her business. Basically, if her grandfather cut her off and said, you can't use my equipment anymore, you can't work out of my space anymore, you can't use our employees to fulfill these contracts, she wouldn't be able to operate. She's not truly independent. She is reliant on her grandfather's business in order to run her own business. So again, we are trying to prevent there being spin-offs and fronts from other businesses that don't really qualify for the MBE or the WBE. We are looking for truly independent, owned by a woman on her own or with other women, and running her business. Now, other than that, as I mentioned, there are no size or length of time business requirements. I have certified women who are one-woman shows. She launched 6 months ago. She's got like $2,000 in revenue. She's working out of her kitchen table. That's totally cool. I've certified businesses that are multi-generational, 125 years old. The woman is the one that inherited the business. She's running the show. She has 500 employees. There's a huge spectrum here in every industry you can think of. So we also offer the WOSB, which is an additional certificate that is specifically for federal contracting. So there is a program through the SBA, Small Business Administration, for working with the federal U.S. government. And you used to be able to get self-certified as a WOSB as of 2020, about a year and a half ago. And in 2020, they said, no more, we're getting rid of self-certification. We want to make sure that everyone who applies is truly a women-owned small business. So in order to get WOSB certified, you have to either apply directly with the SBA, or we can add it on top of your WBE. Now, if you're already applying for the WBE and you know you want to get this additional certificate, please let us file on your behalf. It will save you hours and hours of work, because the SBA system is another very long, very duplicative process, and I know it is very backed up right now. So please let us file for you. We can also keep a note, we can only add it on at the time that you apply or recertify. We can't add it on mid-year. So if you know that there's a possibility that you will be bidding on a government contract, or as a sub for a prime for a government contract coming up this year, add it on and don't wait till 6 months later and say, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to be bidding on a government contract. I'm going to go contact WeBank and ask them to add on the WOSB. We can't do it mid-year. So add it on now if you think you'll need it. Or if you don't think you'll need it this year, you can add it on next year. Now, do you need the WOSB certificate? Because the very first question on your application for the WBE is, do you also want to add on the WOSB for federal contracting? And like 80% of people just automatically check yes, because they see women-owned small business. I'm a small business as well as a regular women-owned business. I'm going to get that too. If you are not interested in working with the federal government, and if you are not working in one of their approved industries, you don't need the certificate. It is just a little bit of extra work that you will save yourself. So again, are you interested in working with the federal government, and are you working in one of the approved NAICS code industries? Because this program is intended for industries that are typically male dominated, because the federal government recognizes that women-owned businesses still need a leg up in some of these industries. So take a look, and you can easily just Google WOSB industries or NAICS codes and find that list and see if you actually qualify for the program. If you do not qualify for the program, or you don't want to do business with the federal government ever, like if you're in like leadership consulting and you're like, you know what, I'm never going to work with the federal government, check no. Please check no on question 1 of the WOSB. Now, to get the WOSB, you must meet all the criteria for WBE certification. If you don't, I mean, our criteria validates that you are truly a women-owned and run business. So you have to meet all those criteria. We're not going to issue you the WOSB if you don't meet the WBE. You also have to meet a NAICS code, and size standard. The size standard is very generous. I think I've maybe only denied 2 businesses ever for being over the size standard. You must also be working full-time in your business. You cannot have a full-time unrelated job on the side, and that is because the federal government wants to know that you can be reached during normal business hours and carry out the projects during normal business hours. So they look at, are you working at least 30 hours a week in your business? And are those hours during core working business hour times and you don't have another side business? And lastly, you have to be registered with SAM.gov, which is the System for Award Management. It is a completely free system. You get a DUNS number. It's all free. If you Google it, a lot of times the first things that'll come up are consultants that are a little predatory and will charge you $750 to help you get registered in SAM.gov. Save yourself that money. If you need help, contact our friends here at the PTAC. That's why they're here, is to help you out with government contracting questions. So please, if you have questions about, how to use the WOSB, we love our friends at the PTAC because we help you get certified. They are the ones now that help you get into this contracting. So that's why we love partnering with them, because after you come to us to get certified, go to them for government, come to us for corporations. So just know, again, SAM.gov is free. If you have questions, ask our friend Dominique here. All right, so let's talk about the application process for the WBE. Generally, it takes about 3 to 4 months for the first time that you apply. And recertification is annual. Recertification is much less arduous than the first time around, when we're really going to do a deep dive into your business. So let's break down, why does it really take 3 to 4 months? The first phase is what we call our documentation review, or our Q&A phase. You are going to send us a bajillion pieces of documentation, and we are going to read through it all, every single thing. Give us a week or two to read through everything. And then one of our certification officers is going to reach out to you with a bunch of questions. Because what you've sent to us is kind of like a baseline. We don't know what questions we're going to have. We don't know, maybe you are working in another side business that is, similar in industry. And we're going to want to make sure that, there's no relationship there that can impede upon your control of the business. Or, we see that there's another signer on your bank account. Well, who is that signer? Is it someone that, can control the business, or that you're beholden to? We want to know all about who's doing what, who's running the show. And we're going to look through all of those documents. So know that if you get a Q&A with 10 questions on it, that is totally normal. And that is us doing our due diligence. Do not get dismayed. Take your time, get back to us with everything. Don't send us things back piecemeal, because it's just more back and forth. Just take 2 weeks, get everything together, and send it back to us, and we'll let you know if we have any additional questions. Now, once we have gotten everything, we say, you know what, we have no more questions here. We get it. We know what this business is all about. We know who's running everything. We are going to take your application and pass it into phase 2, which is our committee review. Our committee are all trained anonymous volunteers. They are comprised of both our corporate members as well as other business owners. And they meet generally twice a month, and they will review all the applications in the queue, or as many as they can get to, and make a recommendation to hopefully certify. And that is phase 2. So we say up to 30 days, just because depending on when you get your documents to us, they meet twice a month. So if you don't make it into this week's, you may need to wait another 2 to 3 weeks for the next committee meeting. And the last phase is a site visit. Now, pre-COVID, we were doing all these in person, but for the last 2 years, we've been doing them all virtually. So this is going to be about a 1-hour meeting, and we will meet with you via Zoom. And we only meet with the women owners. So any women who own any percentages can participate, but we need at least 51% representing. So if there's a 50-50, we need both of the women there. And this is just it's a conversation, because we know that you are not just a piece of paper, right? We want to actually talk with you face to face and understand, what is your role in the business? What is your expertise? Tell us your story. It's also a great time for you to ask questions of us too about the network. So, don't, a lot of people get nervous, but don't get nervous. It's a good conversation. And once the site visit is completed, generally you'll hear back within a week or so on the final decision. So know that it can take up to 3 to 4 months. It can take longer if you take a really long time getting back to us. If you are like, you have a stock option plan with like 50 different women and your stocks are upside down and all over the place, and we keep having to go back and forth with you to get them, and then you take 2 weeks to get back to us, that's going to add on more time. If you are a sole proprietor and you got all your documentation in order and everything is neat, and we send you 3 questions and you get back to us within like 2 business days, that phase 1 is going to shrink down because we're able to get back to you quickly. You got everything in order. So, partially it is up to you too to help make this process a little bit smoother. There is a fee to apply, and it is on a sliding scale based on your gross receipts. So if you make under $1 million in gross receipts in the previous annual year, it is $350, and this is an annual fee that stays the same every year. If you've made $1 to $5 million, it's $500, and it goes up, so on and so forth. Note that this fee does not guarantee certification. What it guarantees is a fair and timely review. It pays for all of our staff time, the many hours that we are going to be talking with you and reviewing all of your documents, and making sure that we give you a fair review in as quick a time as we possibly can. But if you choose to withdraw halfway through the process or you get denied, it is not refundable. Now, before I get into documents, I want to talk about confidentiality and privacy, because it is really our utmost priority here. So we use a portal called WBE Link, and it is a secure encrypted portal, and everything goes through it. So we do not keep anything in hard copy. We don't accept anything in hard copy. Please do not mail us anything. I will mail it right back to you. Please don't fax me anything. There are still some like vestigial places in WBE Link that say upload or fax. Please don't fax. I've been trying to get them to take the word fax down forever. So please just upload the documents safely into the system. Don't fax me anything. Don't email me anything. Make sure that they are in the system attached to your application. If you get certified, none of your confidential information, your tax returns, anything like that is shared with corporate members, and it will never be viewed by anyone besides your assigned staff reviewer or committee reviewer. All of our staff, committee members, and site visitors sign confidentiality agreements in advance, and they all take it very seriously. If your certification is discontinued for any reason, or if, let's say, you start the application and you don't submit it within 90 days, it gets deleted, it gets purged. We do not want to be hanging onto documents for businesses that don't end up pursuing certification with us. And lastly, just an important note about your application too is there is a specific question in there that's asked for a application contact. So if you have an administrator or a CFO or a lawyer or someone that you want us to be able to talk with, please list them as an application contact so that we know that it's okay to talk to them. Because if someone emails me and says, hey, can you give me a status update on this application? I'm going to check with you and make sure it's okay for me to actually talk to them. And if I don't hear back from you, I can't give this person confidential information about your application and your business. So please, put them as an application contact. Now, this is what the system looks like. On the bottom left here, you see apply or renew certification. So that's where you're going to get started. You can also log back in there with the big login button. You can save and log back in at any time. Once you start the application, you have 90 days to complete it before it gets deleted. So you got 3 months to fill it all in. I know this is really tiny, but once you get in there, hopefully these little red boxes will at least just show you where to click. So this is what the dashboard looks like. Again, you can save and go back in at any time. Once you log into your dashboard, on that right side, you see Manage Apply Certification, and it should take you to any current applications that you have in process. So you'll see, current applications, there's the incomplete, and then you click process to keep going. So it's pretty straightforward, and tech support is very responsive if you have any questions about the system or uploading documents or any issues logging in. Now, this is the application page here, and you see all these little red arrows are all the parts of the application, and it tells you what percentage you have done on each one. So it's pretty easy to follow through and see, okay, here's how much I have left. And within this box is our fund deletion date. So again, 90 days, and you will start getting emails weeks out saying, you have 30 days until your application will be deleted. It is still incomplete. Please go in to complete it. Now, I can extend it, but you must give me time. You can email me or, any of our staff and say, hey, my application is supposed to be deleted on March 15th. I'll probably complete it, but I'm not sure. Can you just give me a few more weeks? I'm more than happy to. I'll give you a whole other 2 months. But if you email me today and say, it's Friday, right? And you say, my application is supposed to be deleted on Sunday. Can you please extend it? Well, if I don't see it in the next couple hours, I don't work on the weekends, and it gets deleted on Sunday, I can't get it back. There's nothing I can do. It is gone. So, and that's a safety feature. So please, if you know that it's coming up, you've gotten those emails, you're like, you know what? I know it's still a few weeks away. Just email me. I can extend it. Better safe than sorry. All right. So here are the documents that you need. And you can get this full list. It varies a little bit based on your legal structure and, anything that pertains to your business. Like if you don't have any employees, or you don't issue W-2s, obviously you can't upload W-2s. Okay, so let's break it down into 4 categories here. So first and foremost, legal and governance. So these pretty much we need. Your articles of incorporation, of course, you need to be incorporated. If you are a corporation, we need those stock certificates and your ledger and your bylaws. If you are an LLC, we need your operating agreement. Owner eligibility, we need your proof of citizenship and proof of gender. That can be your driver's license, birth certificate, passport, any government issued documents. We need the resumes of all owners and directors. So we want to know who is doing what. Please don't send us a little blurb about each of your owners or who you are. We need traditional resume format, who has worked where, when, for all of the owners and all of the directors. Financial structure, 3 full years of tax returns. If you're thinking to yourself, I don't think I have those, just hold on. I will answer the FAQs on the next slide. 3 full years of tax returns. We'll ask for your balance sheet. We'll ask for your profit loss statement, bank signature cards, or a letter from your bank saying who has signing authority over the bank, because that is a very important indicator of control. Other things like a loan agreement, we want to make sure that you don't have any, outstanding loans that can potentially impede your control. If you fail to pay, they'll take over your business or something. Same thing with leases or service franchise agreements. Service agreements, I'm not talking about like constant contact. Everyone has small services like that. I'm talking like if you are a product-based business and you have one major manufacturer that you work with, that's a major service agreement that impacts your business. And then personnel, again, we want to know who's working for you and who's doing what. So we'll ask for your W-2s, list of payroll, list of employees, things like that. Now, do not worry, you do not need to send us this every year. Recertification is not nearly as arduous. You will need to send us your updated financials every year. So those tax returns, balance sheet, profit loss statements, but you don't need to send us, your list of employees or your bylaws or anything unless you've had major changes. If you've changed your bylaws, updated them, yes, you need to send us, those updated bylaws. You don't need to send us like an updated list of employees every year. We know there's turnover every year. But major things that have changed, if you changed your location, your headquarters, send us an updated lease. I have a question here. How are student loans looked at regard with loan agreements? We only look at loans that are associated with your business. So your student loans are personal loans. They're taken out in your name, not in your business's name. So they don't really apply. Okay, moving along. Let's see here. Okay, Sylvia, I'll get to your question in a second. If you are a brand new business and you've looked at some of these documents and said, I don't know if I have any of these or some of these, here are my tips for you. We do need your eligibility and governance documents. Regardless, we need to know that you are a U.S. citizen and that you're a woman. We do need your articles of incorporation. If you are a corporation, we need those stock certificates and bylaws. We need your operating agreement if you're an LLC, unless you are a single member LLC or you are a sole proprietor. And you can submit a statement saying like, I'm a single member LLC. I don't have an operating agreement. It's just me. But if you are an LLC with, even if you have one other owner, you need to have an operating agreement drafted. Contribution of capital. This is a big one that a lot of people ask about. Copy of a deposited check, no matter how small. If you put $100 in your bank account, that is your contribution of capital. Tell us about that. If you bought your business, send us that purchase agreement. 3 full years of tax returns, another tricky document. So if you are a brand new business and you have, let's say, 1 year of company returns, you can send us personal returns for the other 2 years. And what that encompasses is the first 2 pages of your tax return and any Schedule C. That's the profit loss of business. If you don't have that, you can send us just the first 2 pages. That's the actual return for you. You can redact any sensitive information, such as your social security number and your dependents' names, things like that. But we do need 3 years of returns. If you are brand spanking new business, you can send us 3 years of personals. If you got founded in 2019, I know a lot of people don't have 2021 done yet. You can send us your company returns for 19 and 20 and your personals for 18. We just need 3 years. Balance sheet and profit loss statement. I have seen simple little ones covered in zeros. That is totally fine. Hopefully everyone has, at least some startup costs. You spend $100 to get a web domain, or you bought a new computer, things like that. But we get it. If you don't have any revenue, put a zero there. We just need a balance sheet and profit loss statement, no matter how simple. And other things that may not apply to you: W-2s, payroll, list of employees, lease agreements, loan agreements, any of that. If you're saying, you know what, I don't have any of that, you can send a Word document. Now, you can check NA, but my personal recommendation, just to make things a little faster for you, is just upload a Word document saying, I don't have any employees. We didn't issue any W-2s this year. And that way, your reviewing officer will look at that and say, okay, I get it. I don't even have to ask about it now. Great. It just helps things move along a little bit faster. So as I'm getting towards the end of my presentation, I want to give you some 10 tips to make this process a little bit easier for you. First and foremost, create your profile in WBankLink using the women owner's email address, because she's ultimately going to be the holder of the certification. Remember, you can add the admin in question 17, the application contact. Remember that all of the public information you put in your application will ultimately go into the directory listing. So please type in upper and lowercase letters, spell your business correctly. Exactly how you type your name is how a corporate will see you in the directory. For some reason, people don't like uppercase their first name or last name. Like, please spell your name correctly and, put in a good business description with your keywords. Don't put in just like a long mission statement and history. When you go into that directory, a corporate who is reading that wants to know immediately, what are you good at? What can you do? And put in those keywords so you come in a search. They don't really care about your family, mission, history, whatever. Put in a catchy keyword and description. Submit as many documents as you can. Now, so many people say, you know what, I think I have this. I'll see if they ask for it. We're going to ask for it. Just put it in and make it a little bit faster. We talked about this at the beginning of the presentation. Make sure your bylaws and operating agreements support your control. So go and take a look for those unanimous consent clauses. Go and take a look who has the highest defined title, and put any amendments into place and sign them before you apply. Number 5 should be obvious. Proofread everything. Don't sign and submit it before you just read through everything, especially if you have someone else filling out the application on your behalf. So many times I reach out to the owner and say, hey, the ownership percentages that you submitted here don't match up to your stock ledger. And the owner says, well, that's not correct. Why would my admin put it that way? Please proofread. Pay the processing fee by credit card rather than by check. We won't start reviewing it until we get the payment. So please make sure, that it's that you just cut out a couple extra days. Number 7, this is important. Whitelist this email address. WeBank link at webanklink.org. It looks kind of funky, but that is the auto notice email that everything will come through from the system. So, you have a Q&A in the system that you need to answer. You have passed committee review and we're getting ready to schedule you with a site visit. You got approved. Congratulations. All of these notices, you want to get those. So please whitelist this address. Send all of the responses to Q&As in one answer and timely response. One answer. Don't send us piecemeal. If we ask for 5 things, don't say, oh, I am going to, I'm going to do this, I'll send this here and then I'll get that next week. And because it's just more back and forth. We go in and we say, okay, she answered this. All right, I'm going to, we're still missing this. Okay. And it's just more time back and forth. Be flexible when it comes to your site visit. Don't tell us I can only do Tuesdays at 4 o'clock because it might take us a while to find someone that can do that Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So just be a little flexible. We'll give you a bunch of times to pick from. And lastly, just remember the whole process takes about 3 to 4 months. So if you really know you'll need it, you have an upcoming RFP, please apply early ahead of time because we don't expedite the process. So just get it in early if you know you're going to need it in the next few months. We have a wonderful staff team here to help. I get the question a lot that, do I need to hire a consultant to answer my questions? Start with us first. We are happy to answer your questions for free. Please reach out to us. If we don't know the answer, we'll find someone who does. Most business owners are able to get through this process without hiring a consultant. So what comes next? Start using the certificate. Do your research into your target clients. Start networking. Find out if your target clients have a supplier diversity program and a portal that you can, join. Upload that certificate to supplier diversity portals. Start marketing yourself, adding the logos. Not just networking and marketing yourself among our network, but the whole supplier diversity network. And just remember, certification, it's annual, so you must recertify every year. Your expiration date never changes. So let's say someone gets certified today, 2/25. Your expiration date will always be 2/25. You can apply up to 4 months ahead of time for recertification. If it goes through within like a week or two, that's great. You now have a year and 4 months. You do not have to worry about it. Same thing if you forget and you apply 3 months late, you're still going to have to recertify in 9 months. So please recertify early. We will be, sending you as many reminders as we possibly can. So again, the most successful certified businesses build business relationships in order to build business. So I thank you very much. That is the end of my my portion, the WBE. I will look through questions real quick and then pass it over to Darius for the MBE. All right, let's see. I've got a few questions here. How about if we have no employees but issued W-9s? Yeah, you can submit those. There are a whole list of different documents based on your legal structure. I believe W-9s are asked for, but if you have a specific question about like which specific document, that's why we have that Q&A period, is to allow you that back and forth with your reviewing officer. We're not going to automatically deny you because like we're missing some documents. So, and if you, as you're going through the application, if you have questions like, do I need to submit this? Can I put W-9s? Shoot us an email. We will be more than happy to help you out. Let's see. So question here about privacy and the volunteers. So you should know that a lot of these documents, they are the same with EMSDC. And, you know, Darius, you can talk about, you know, the financials that are required for the MBE. But, you know, we ask for everything for a reason. And the unfortunate reality is there is still a lot of fraud. It is just the unfortunate reality. And because we ask for these documents and we truly verify who is running and owns the business, that is why we are considered the gold standard in certification. So yes, you know, you can redact, you know, as much information, you can redact your social security number, but know that we have never had a security breach in our system that we know of. All of the volunteers and staff members are very thoroughly vetted and go through rigorous training every year. They all sign confidentiality agreements. Every single person that I assign onto a application, I know personally, and I've known them for a few years and I've vetted them and they've gone through training with me. We take this very, very seriously, your privacy, your confidentiality. So, you know that this is something that we really take seriously. And if you ever have any concerns or any questions, we are happy to help and, you know, see how we can help mitigate those concerns. So always feel free to reach out to us, because I understand, you know, in today's world of like hacking and everything, it is scary. So know that, you know, we specifically work with this platform we use is called B2G, and it is trusted by many different supplier diversity programs, government programs, and it was designed and maintained specifically for this reason, for supplier diversity applications. So it's not just some like off the shelf, you know, portal that we use. You know, it is designed and maintained specifically for this, with that security in mind. So any other questions, I am more than happy to answer. But at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Darius. I'm also going to put my email in the chat. So you are more than welcome to email me or any of my staff if you have any other specific questions. And I thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, this presentation, it definitely was very helpful. We always have clients who particularly ask about the WBE. And of course, I'd send them to you guys because I can't always answer some of the questions, but this will definitely help kind of lead them and guide them to, you know, make the decision to go down this path. So thank you so much. I'm going to swiftly change over to Darius's presentation so we can learn more about the MBE through EMSDC.
All right. So, Colleen, great presentation. Unfortunately, something's going on with my webcam, so I won't be on camera. I've been trying to fix it through your entire presentation, so forgive me, everybody who's in the audience. But my name is Darius Hurst-Rodney. I am recertification coordinator here at the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. Our coverage region is the exact same as WBEC East, Pennsylvania, Southern New Jersey, and Delaware. We are a part of the National Minority Supplier Development Council. We certify ethnic minority-owned businesses. That means if you're certified with us, same thing as if you're certified with WBEC East and you're a WBE for them, right? You'll be an MBE for us, and you'll be able to work across the United States and be recognized as an MBE. All right, next slide. So I kind of just laid this out, right? So, but I'll definitely read you this definition of an MBE, right? So an MBE is a for-profit enterprise, regardless of size, physically located in the United States or its trusted territories, which is owned, operated, managed, and controlled, and governed by an ethnic minority group member or group members. So as long as your percentage equals 51% or more, total ethnic minority owned, managed, and controlled, you're considered an MBE, meaning if you have 8 partners, and out of those 8 partners, let's say you have 8 partners, everything is equal. And then let's just say that 5 out of those 8 partners end up being minority and everything is even down the middle, then you're able to be certified because you'll have majority percentage, 51% or more, owned, managed, and controlled by ethnic minorities. Now, ethnic minorities are classified by African American or Black, Hispanic or Latino American, Native American, Asian Pacific American, and Asian Indian American. We do not certify Europeans, obviously, and we do not certify those of Middle Eastern descent. I know that a lot of people who I've run across this across my time working at the council, a lot of Middle Easterns are like, well, I'm from Pakistan. Can I be certified? And I have to unfortunately say, due to our bylaws, you cannot. But that's essentially who we certify. All right, next slide. Right, so our certification process is pretty similar to WBEC East, where you're going to be asked for all of that documentation and pretty much everything that Colleen said as to why we're asking you for that documentation is the exact reason why we're asking you for that certification. Information for certification, right? Our application is 100% online. All documents must be updated to our portal, and it's a very secure portal. And you can find that portal located at emstc.org. As soon as you get to that website, in the top right-hand corner, you can't miss it. It says certification/recertification. There's a button specifically made, and when we were going through the site revamp and everything like that, I told the developers, we need a certification button right there where nobody can miss it. So that's where it is. All of your required documentation must be uploaded unless that documentation does not apply to you. For example, if you do not have a DBA, you do not need a fictitious business statement. Why? Because it has nothing to do with you if you're not a DBA. So some things have nothing to do with you, but majority of everything will have something to do with you. Also, tax-wise, if your company is a new company and you do not have 3 years of taxes, we would accept your personal taxes as well. But it's personal taxes of all owners. So if you have 8 owners, but then you decided to start business last year, well, we're going to need 3 years of taxes. So yes, we're going to need all of your owners' taxes uploaded. Now, our fee for certification varies by our tiered class system. Your initial certification fee, if you are a class 1, which means you made under $1 million in gross annual revenue last year, your fee would be $300 for your initial certification. If you are still in that bracket when you go to recertify the next year, because this is an annual certificate, then you will be paying the full price of $500. That $300 is prorated because it's meant to help you guys obtain certification. Now, class 2 is if you're over $1 million, but you're under $10 million, your fee will be $750. Now, class 3, that's if you're over 10, but you're under $50 million, then your fee would be $1,000. And class 4 is anything over 50 million, and your fee would be $1,250. And I always say, if you're making over 50 million and you tell me you can't pay $1,250, I'm probably going to look at you a bit crazy. Next slide. Right, so here is documentation. Okay. So we're going to need the owner's proof of ethnicity. Now that's defined as birth certificates. And if you don't have your birth certificate, then we need your parents' birth certificates for their ethnicity, and this will be for all owners as well. We're going to need IDs. We're going to need passports, things of that nature, and that's specifically for proof of citizenship, because you do have the owners, the minority owners must be United States citizens. You cannot be a permanent resident, or you cannot be just a green card. You have to be a United States citizen, right? We need resumes from all owners. Every owner needs to submit their resume, right? We need 2 years of federal business tax. So kind of what I was talking about before. If that can't be provided, then we need your personal taxes. We need financial statements, profit and loss statements, cash flows, and your balance sheets. We need any notes payable that you may have. We need your operating business license and or permits. We're going to need your lease agreement and proof of ownership of this facility if you own the facility. We're going to need equipment rental and purchase agreements. And we're going to need contract of work history as well. So pretty much all of those things show that you are a legitimate business in the United States and you've been doing business, right? Now, granted, if you're a startup, obviously contract of work history wouldn't necessarily apply to you just because you wouldn't have that. But if you've been in business for a year or more, then we definitely need to see all of these statements. And another reason why we need to see it is to make sure that you're not a shell company. So we're just making sure that, again, Colleen said, unfortunately, fraud is prevalent. That is very true. And it's even in our space. We need to make sure that you're not just a pass-through company that is doing business with a larger corporation, which is funding you, and or you're housed within in some way, shape, form, fashion, so that you guys are doing the same service, but the contracts flow through you to become minority contracts, quote unquote, right? So that's the reason why we need to see that. Who are you doing business with, right? Because if you come to me and you say, I have 2 employees, I make $200 million in annual revenue this year, but last year I made 50,000. But then we find out that you're in a warehouse of another big majority company that sells the same services, then it's obvious to us that you are not who you say you are. Therefore, you are declined for certification. You're just essentially a shell company and pass through for that larger corporation. Next slide. Right. So more documentation, right? List of equipment owned if you own any, bonding capacity if you have it, right? Copy of bank signage cards. So that's going to let us know who can make transactions at the bank on your either on your behalf or who in the business can make those bank transactions. That's a control thing. We're going to need your corporate bylaws, your operating agreement, your proof of capital contribution. So whatever funding came into your business, and if it was, funded by investors, we need to see the breakdown of that investor company. So if you were, let's say you're a large corporation and you're funded by 3 investors or so, right? We're going to now need to see the minority breakdown of those corporations to do some very complicated math to decide if we can count them towards your total minority capacity from within your business. That's really a thing for bigger corporations, but nonetheless, I have to say that here, right? We need to see a copy of your stock certificates or member unit certificates, current members unit stocks or stock ledgers, and minutes from the business's first board of directors meeting where the officials were elected. Just so we can see who are your officials, right? Who's operating that business, and who has that control from within that meeting. Next slide. So now, this is a little bit more about the process here, right? So the application and documentation goes through a complete review. When we get your application in, first don't submit your application without all of your documentation. It will make the process a lot longer than what it has to be. I always tell people that the process is about 6 to 8 weeks. However, if you don't have all of your documentation, that 6 to 8 week process can turn to a 6 to 8 month process, depending on how long it takes for you to get in everything that we need from you. So make sure that you have all your information together when you go to submit, right? Now, when we go into documentation review, it goes through Jan. Jan reviews it, and then we go through a site visit afterwards. After we do said site visit, what was found on that site visit, right? Site visit just to verify that you are who you say you are and you do what you say you do. So after that site visit is done, we then take what was found in that site visit, compile a report for our certification committee. Our certification committee is comprised of corporate members of our council who have a vested interest in working with minority businesses, and they essentially decide if you are, one, who you say you are, and two, if you're eligible for certification. If you're, whatever reason, denied, you have 30 days to appeal written. We won't let you come into the office, but you can send a written appeal. It'll be addressed at the next committee meeting, and then after the next committee meeting, we'll make sure that we get our decision to you. You can't change anything that you put on your documentation, but you can explain things and bring new factors in. So the potential MBE must be considered an independent business. We don't certify nonprofits. Everything must be for profit. We also don't certify holding companies. The EMSCC shall consider all relevant factors, kind of what I talked about. These factors will include the date the business was established, the adequacy of its resources, to the degree which it was reliant for financial, equipment, leasing, or any other relationship with a non-ethnic minority, kind of what I spoke about with having investors into your business. Any business that has a non-minority participant on the owner level is highly scrutinized, meaning if you are a 5149 and that 49% is non-minority, we're going to look at your business and we're going to really, really sift through your business structure just to make sure you didn't put that it was a 5149 in order to be a pass-through company, right? It's a true 5149. You have true ownership control. Next slide. Right. So again, site visits. So due to the pandemic, we were doing a lot of Skype and Zoom. This year, we're looking forward to, kind of opening that back up and just getting out to the various different businesses and, having site visit in person. However, we don't really know what's going to happen with the world. And that's up to, kind of your discretion if you're comfortable with it or not, and if our staffer is comfortable with that or not. So that's the big thing when it comes to our site visits. We're going to, after we review your documentation, we're going to then pretty much ask you when is a good time for us to meet, and then we'll meet, and that's how the site visit will begin. Next slide. Right. So again, 30 to 45 days, I say 6 to 8 weeks. After the application review, the decision is made from the committee. Again, I spoke about the committee already. The committee meets the last Thursday of every month, except for October, November, and December because of the holidays. And NMSCC's national conference is around that time as well. After the committee votes and approves you, then you will receive a welcome letter. You also receive a welcome packet. You'll receive your new certificate. And then I would encourage you to be a part of our You're Certified What's Next webinar for the following month, which I run, which pretty much breaks down how you can navigate the council and use your certificate and leverage your certificate. And just kind of understanding that your certificate doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be up for contracts, doesn't automatically mean that people are going to start doing business with you now. all it means is that when you go into a room and speak with these corporations and things of that nature, you can also bring that up and say, hey man, like I count, and they know that, you know, you count towards their diversity spend, but you also have to be a business owner and offer them something that they were willing to buy anyway. If your application is denied, again, you will be given a chance to file an appeal, 30 days, written appeal. I'm sorry, my presentation is not as long as, you know, Colleen's, but hopefully I got ample amount of information in for you guys. If there's any questions, feel free to ask them now.
Thank you so much, Darius. Much appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat. I mean, it's been open, but if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and pop them in. It was a lot of information today. So, and I believe Colleen is still present. So if you have any questions regarding the WBE, please go ahead and also put those in the chat. Yep, I see. Okay, I see you.
My email is also in the chat for anybody who wants to email me with any questions as well.
All right, we'll give it a little bit of time. I know it's a Friday, everyone's ready for the weekend. So, but yes, you guys have their emails. You have our contact information as well. Please feel free. Oh, we have a question. If I'm a sole owner LLC, how do I answer the number of employees question? Is it 1 or 0?
Are you, okay, so it would be 1 if you're the only person that's in your business. It would be 1 employee. You're the only employee.
Yeah, that's what we count too. We count the owners as employees, so it'll be 1.
Okay. Also, what documentation is used for ethnicities?
Birth certificates, passports, anything that will show your ethnicity, government issued. The biggest thing for ethnicity, when we're talking about ethnicity and making sure that you are who you say you are, especially if you're from a different country, then that, you know, obviously we'll see, okay, here's a birth certificate from Guatemala, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you're a minority. So it's things like that as well.
Perfect. And yes, all of the materials will be sent to everyone's emails, so you don't have to worry. Any other questions? I think the presentation was pretty straightforward. Thank you guys so much for breaking this down in such an easy, you know, digestible way. I can't wait to partner with you guys on more sessions, but also please go ahead and check out their websites. They do have materials and things that you can take advantage of there as well. So anything that we can't cover, they certainly would cover regarding their certifications and also just their general organizations. They have, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but you guys also offer just general business webinars and things like that, like help and assistance and all of that good stuff too.
Yes, for sure. I know that we have various different series throughout the year, either financial series or business development series throughout the year. Actually, if you go to our events page, there's always something new and different there, and I'm sure Colleen and WeBank has the same. So it's one of those things where, you know, if you go to our website, then you can definitely go and view all of the different things that are happening, and we partner with a lot of the same people, Chamber of Commerce and things like that.
Awesome. And so do people have to be a member or do they have to have the certification to be able to attend those, or are some of them free, some of them paid? What's that like?
I mean, it depends on the event.
Okay.
I know for our events, majority of the time you have to be an MBE, but it might not be our event because we also post events that aren't our events, and it might be a partner's event.
Right.
And if they're a partner's event, then you don't have to be certified with us. You can just go. But if it's one of our events, then yes, we would like for you to be a certified MBE, or you can be a part of our listed and registered, which is essentially if you are minority owned and maybe you're smaller, or maybe your business isn't a commodity, or, you know, it can't be used in the supply chain, then we offer listed and registered options, which is essentially a certificate, but it's a way cheaper certificate, which will allow for you to operate as a minority vendor, but you won't be technically an MBE, but you will be able to be in the same types of situations as other MBEs.
Gotcha. Okay. So they'll essentially still have access to similar resources, just won't get that certification.
Right.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Really good info.
And we do a lot of programs as well, networking programs, workshops. We are also a women's business center. So we do a lot of, support programming, anything from, how to improve your website and social media presence, how to find new funding, all sorts of workshops like that. All of those workshops are open to anybody. You don't have to be certified. You don't even have to be a woman to attend those. Certain programs that we have are really intended for our certified WBEs, or if we have like a larger event, certain portions of it, like the networking with our corporates are for certified WBEs. So it really depends on the program, but we also do serve businesses who are not certified as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. It doesn't look like there's any other questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our first certification week. Thank you again, Colleen and Darius, for this wonderful presentation. This information will be sent out to you shortly, probably within the next hour. So don't fret, you'll get all the good information. And also you'll be able to visit our website and access the recordings there too, as well as our YouTube very soon. So have a great weekend. Again, we hope that this information was very helpful, and hopefully it encouraged you guys to actually look at these certifications and take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there for you by way of these certifications. So again, if you have any questions, government contracting related, feel free to let me know. If I don't have an answer, I will point you in the right direction. All right, have a great weekend and see you guys soon.
Thank you.